Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Tonight we are going to grill up some chicken drumsticks. We are going to make some different cheesy breads, not pizzas, but different cheesy breads, and then saute up some potatoes, broccoli, peppers, onions, mushrooms, lots of different little veggies. So kind of like a grill fest today. So let's start by making our herby marinade for our chicken. So I have picked a bunch of herbs from my garden. I've got parsley, thyme, oregano, rosemary, and basil in here. So I'm just going to take off some of the bigger stalks. And then we will mince this up and we'll toss it with our chicken with some lovely olive oil and Worcestershire sauce. So I'm just again getting some of the bigger stalks off. There we go. Now let's do with the thyme. Those are pretty easy to kind of just peel the leaves off. Here we go. But this is going to be like a fresh, like garden herb chicken that is just so delicious. I just love using my like herbs in our garden during the summer because they just are so delicious with the chicken. Especially you can use this marinade also on like veggies, eggplant, zucchini, yellow squash. Again, we're just going to get all of our little herbs off here best we can. Just get some of those big ones off. And then I'm going to mince it up in here. We've got quite a bit because we've got a lot of chicken we want to season up here. Okay. Now we're going to mince this whole up into a bunch of just fine minced herbs. And this is going to be for our kind of herby chicken garden herb drumsticks. And then we'll start prepping up. I've got some sourdough kind of pizza crust that I've made, but we're not making pizzas today, but we're more like making some artisan cheese breads. I've got a bunch of different cheeses, some pesto, sun-dried tomatoes, just a delicious kind of herby cheesy bread. And then we've got some potatoes that we're going to saute up, and mushrooms, onions and peppers. Everything I feel like just plays well together. Again, you want to make as many cuts on your herbs as possible. The more cuts on your fresh herbs, the more flavors that will come out. And we want our chicken to be really well seasoned up. Here we go. So, looks like we've got a good all together. This is probably, I would say, a third cup of fresh herbs minced up. So it will be a lot of poppin' flavors in here. Okay, let's take, and we're going to use some green onions as well. So we're going to just take off kind of this whiter part. These are really fat green onions. I feel like they're halfway to leeks, but these onions are going to add great flavor as well into our marinade, give just that fresh onion flavor. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to have them mince these up just a little bit finer since they are such big green onions. But if you didn't have green onions, chives would also do great. Okay. Now we've got our chicken right here. And I'm going to put my herbs in, my fresh herbs. I'm going to put them all in here. And then we are going to give it a good dose of Worcestershire sauce. Probably about, I want to say maybe 2 tablespoons. Enough to really kind of cut through the natural fat in there to make it extra juicy. And then, of course, we're going to drizzle it with some olive oil. Probably about, I want to say, maybe a 1/4 cup. We're going to add in some onion powder, about a tablespoon or so, and then some garlic salt. And we're going to add in about, I want to say, a tablespoon as well to really season these up. Here we go. Now I'm just going to grab, I think I have a pair of tongs. Yep. We're going to grab our tongs here. And we're going to really coat up our chicken with our tong. Stir it in all of these lovely herbs. Let those flavors kind of marinate in. And then we're going to do a little bit of our veggie prep. And we'll bring these over to pop these on the grill. There we go. Okay, well, you know what? Let's pop them on right now because these drumsticks are going to take a good while to cook, and I want to cook them on a lower temperature so they don't get burned. I'm going to turn it down. I had my grill heating up on high, but now I'm going to turn it down to a slightly lower temperature. And we're going to place these on our little grill here, giving them all some good space. And I'm making sure all these like herbs are on the chicken, so they'll add just so much flavor. There we go. Again, we've got our green onions and our parsley, our oregano, and Worcestershire. Here we go. I'm going to just scoop some of these up here. Here we go. And we're going to let these kind of cook up. Again, I do have these on the lowest setting so that they don't get, you want to cook them slow. Okay, let's do some veggie prep. Let's get our potatoes prepped up. We'll slice up our mushrooms, onions, and peppers, and then we'll go start sauteing them on things. So I'm going to kind of cube up my potatoes here. There we go. And we're going to I want to do them not super thick. Just nice and kind of smaller bits. Here we go. And here we go. So just cube them up into little bits so that they'll get nice and tender on our grill. And that way they'll cook up quickly. You don't want them too large because if you make them too large, then what will happen is they're not going to get soft and tender in the time we want to cook them. And these are little yellow baby potatoes. So here we go. Here. So again, we're going to just slice them up. These are just like little baby Yukon Gold potatoes. And okay, just a few more left in this one. I don't know if we're going to cut them all up. I think that I'll do one more and then we'll save. There we go. Okay, we got our potatoes kind of chopped up. We'll season them with our seasonings, but we're going to let them fry up with the butter first. And then let's get our mushrooms chopped up that we will saute as well. We're going to slice these up nice and fine so we can saute them. And then over here in just a second, I've got our sourdough bread cooking up right here. And we'll have that for our cheesy bread that we're going to be making. Here we go. So we'll saute these. I'm going to put some of these on the cheese bread because I have some pesto and I have some shredded like Gruyere and Swiss cheese. So I thought mushrooms, pesto, Gruyere, Swiss cheese would be delicious. Looks like I have quite a bit of mushrooms here. Okay, I think we're not going to use all of them. And I'm going to add them back onto my plate so that we can transfer over. And then we're going to cut up our, I've got some onions and peppers that we're going to saute up as well. And then we're going to go over and we'll start doing our cooking up. So this is a yellow onion. We'll kind of saute it up nicely. We're going to put it on our our flat cooktop over there that's heating up with a little bit of butter, bring out the flavors. And we'll put some of these on our little cheesy flatbreads as well. I figured some caramelized onions on there would be delicious. There we go. So we've got, I'm going to just do long stringy bits. Here. And now we've got some sweet peppers as well. And these will, again, we're going to eat some of them just as our veggies with it, but I'm going to throw some on our kind of our cheese breads, make them a little bit more bougie for it. And then we'll get these start cooking up, and then we'll start shaping up our cheese breads. The cheese breads cook really, really fast in our oven. That's the one thing that's really nice about an outdoor, pizza oven is in like 5 minutes, you can have a pizza from, dough to finished because it cooks it at such high heat. And I will say it's variations of pizzas and cheese breads and flatbreads are definitely a favorite here in our house. There's just can't beat a delicious homemade pizza fired on a true pizza oven. I will say that. Okay. Let's get these. I think we have enough peppers here. Okay, let's get these over there starting to saute. I'm going to grab a stick of butter and we will start kind of sauteing these up and cooking them. Grab my potatoes too. So I'm going to put my butter out here, and we're going to use it. It's not, you can see how hot it is here. Our butter is very, very soft. And then I'm going to go put it down a little bit lower. As you can see, our butter is moving nice and fast for this. There we go. So I've turned it down nice and low. It was nice and hot, but it will be perfect for our potatoes to throw on here. There we go. So I've got our potatoes in. Got one hiding in my little grease trap here. There we go. So we're going to kind of coat them in this brown butter for this. And this will be really like, if you've ever had potatoes cooked on a cooktop, they are so delicious. It's just like those skillet potatoes you get at like those old school diners. Just going to kind of coat them in the brown butter. And then I've turned my skillet down nice and low so that it will cook slowly on the time. We're going to add in our mushrooms. And then I'm going to put these over here. I'm going to add in my peppers up here. That way we have lots of different areas on here. And then we're going to put our onions right here in the middle. And we'll let them saute up. I might add more butter towards the end, but we're going to let them cook in what they have right now. There we go. Let's go take a peek at our chicken, see how it's cooking up. Might need to rotate them. The trick with your chicken is you want to just kind of rotate them around so often. This looks like it's cooking up nicely. So I'm just going to kind of turn one partially here. Looking beautiful. We'll let these kind of cook with our herbs on here. And then we're going to start making our cheesy breads that we have. I got my pizza oven nice and hot. There we go. And beautiful. Okay, let's get our oven. We've got it up to about 400 degrees right now, which is a perfect for thing. So right here, I'm going to grab my sourdough and we're going to kind of shape it out. Now, the trick with this is we've got to put a good helping of flour on our little slider things so that it actually moves, because if you don't have the flour there, it doesn't slide off. And I think it's part of it as I don't have the perfect little like shaky shake that you need. There we go. So we're going to have our good amount of flour here. And then I'm going to take a good bit of our sourdough pizza crust. So I just made a basic pizza crust recipe using my starter, flour, oil, honey, and a little bit of salt. The honey will help give it a nice kind of brownish color to it. Okay. So again, I'm going to put it on here so I can get my good slide off, because if it's not going to slide well, then I'm not going to be able to transfer it in and out. And for my first one, we're going to just do a very basic butter, garlic, salt, and cheese. So like a simple cheesy bread. It'll be delicious, but keeping it simple. Here we go. So just going to put our soft butter on here, that kind of crust there. And then we're going to add in our garlic salt. A good little shaky shake over. And our shredded cheese. And I'm just using shredded mozzarella on this one. We're going to make some more bougie ones in a second, but we're going to just start with simple. Okay, let's go get our first cheesy bread in our pizza oven. So again, I want to make sure we have our good slide. We put a good amount of flour on there.
Get a question, is it hard to transfer them in and out?
If you don't flour them, yes. You got to put a lot of flour on it for it to slide off. Otherwise, it will stick. Also, really heavy ones can be a bit challenging to switch over. I swear Italians must have this like perfect little move down to get it to work, because I always am not the best at it. But I said eventually I'm going to work up and get it. We're going to kind of toss our vegetables that we have sauteing here. I've got my mushrooms, my peppers, and our onions. And then we're going to toss our potatoes. Let's see. I have my spatula. I'm going to look in here real quick. I must have it on the other side. We'll just use my tongs here to toss them. Now, I will season up our potatoes, but not until the very end, because I don't want the spices to kind of get cooked onto our like cooktop here. There we go. It's cooking up beautifully. Okay, while we're waiting for that to cook, we can start prepping our we're going to do a tomato cucumber salad, because I picked my first cucumber from my garden. So I was very, very proud of it. So I'm like, we got to make a cucumber salad with this. So we're going to use some fresh tomatoes, our cucumber, and a little bit of red onion for our salad. I was always excited. I've been watching this guy, waiting for him to be fully because if you pick your cucumber too soon, it will be more bitter, and it's really spiky. You've got to wait until those little nubs are all gone. But I'm always excited for that first kind of harvest. I've gotten lots of cherry tomatoes and a pepper. This is my first cucumber that we're going to add in here. So toss that. It'll be nice. And then I've got my tomatoes that we're going to add in here as well. Now these unfortunately are not been harvested from my garden. I have lots of big green ones coming in, but they're still pretty green. Let's get our kind of top and bottom here. I'm just going to take a quick peek at my cheesy bread, because I want to make sure that we're not overcooking it. I'm going to do a little rotation here, because it likes to cook. As you can see, it cooks more on one side than the other. So I'm just going to spin it. and slide it right back in there. Let's see. Perfect. And then I'll get this kind of cut up. And then we'll start prepping because that one will be ready to come out. And we can start prepping our next little one that we're going to do, especially since we'll have some sauteed veggies up that we can use in it as well. I think I'm just going to use 2 tomatoes for it. And then we're going to use some red onion here for it. So I'm going to cut off the top and the bottom. Let's get this whole outer skin kind of peeled off because it won't be as nice. And then we're going to slice these guys up fairly thin because I want them to be in our tomatoes but not overly powerful. Now you want to definitely use a red onion for this so that your it's not so astringent in flavor. You know, it just is more of a mild onion that just tastes wonderful in this kind of tomato salad, tomato cucumber salad. There we go.
You have a question? Would a white onion be okay if you don't like red onion?
Yes, I would use a white onion. Those are they're going to be a bit stronger. You could do a quick blanching on it to take out some of that, which is just put it in hot water for a few minutes and then like pull it out, and that will get some of that strong flavor out. Let's go. We're going to check this and then we're going to take, ooh, it's ready to come out. This one. There we go. It came out quick. I wanted to grab it before it got too dark on there. Before we flip our next one, I'm going to warm this up. Let's get our veggies things, and then we're going to make our next one. And there, see how quickly they can cook in there? They cook so fast, but they'll have that nice crispy cheese crust on it, which is going to be delicious. Yeah, we're losing some of our veggies down here. We're going to flip this. There we go. Now let's make up our next one for this. Again, the trick is for these so that they slide off is you need to have a well-floured surface. Otherwise, they're not going to slide off very well. Here we go. So I'm going to grab my sourdough crust here. We're going to stretch it out. And again, I'm just going to pull it. You don't need to roll it out. So just like this. Now, I will say, when you first are starting off with a pizza oven, start smaller. It is much easier to move a small kind of pizza off and on than it is to move a big pizza. So I always say start smaller. That way you'll be more successful. So I'm just going to make sure I've got a good movement on here. That's what I always say. If I can slide it back and forth, we're good. This one, we're going to make it a little bit more bougie here. I'm going to grab some of my pesto. We're going to put a little good scoop of pesto on here. Now, I'm pretty picky about my pesto, so there's really only 2 store-bought ones I like if I don't have time to make it myself. It's the Costco's Kirkland one, which I have right here, or Rana's. I like those 2 pestos. I feel like they have the nicest flavors. Sometimes you can get store-bought pestos that are really chemical-y or have a lot of pine nut flavor in it, and I'm not the biggest fan of those. We're going to use, again, a little bit of mozzarella cheese on here.
You have a question? Are these pizzas?
These are more like cheesy breads. I'm making artisan cheese breads, but kind of like a pizza. Just we're not using marinara sauce today. So we've got my cheese on here. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to put a couple veggies on before we slide this in the oven. So we're going to make it a little bit more bougie on this one. So I'm going to add in some of my sauteed mushrooms because I always like my vegetables to be kind of sauteed a little bit. I think they just taste a little bit nicer. And then we're going to add some onions on here. I'm just making it a little bit more artisan with our some of our toppings for our cheese bread. There we go. And again, you just do this little click back and forth. And then this here, this alpha, it has a window. You don't push it in completely, but you close it to kind of keep that heat in, but you can't cut it off completely or you'll blow out the flame. Let's check our chicken here. Again, we have it cooking nice and low. And it is looking juicy. I like to just turn it every so often to a part that hasn't been on the grill so it has an equal chance to cook up on all directions. We do it as best we can. This way it helps stay nice and juicy. Now with the chicken drumsticks, go lower and slower. Don't go too high, or what will happen is you'll cook and burn the outside of it while the inside of your drumstick is still undercooked. So I have mine cooking on low setting, which the temperature is, I've got it about 300. I'm going to turn it up just a smidge. So it will cook it and it will keep it nice and juicy. Okay, we've got ours cooking in there. Let's make our marinade for it. I'm going to get got our first cheesy bread. I'm just going to take there, right there. So for our cucumber salad, we are going to use a little bit of olive oil, dill, and there it is, a little bit of vinegar. I don't like to use a whole lot of vinegar because I don't want it to be too strong in flavor. So I've got about a tablespoon in here. So we're just going to drizzle the vinegar on first because that way it's going to kind of hit the veggies a little bit. And again, about a tablespoon of it. I'm not going to have this to where it's completely soaked in it because I don't want it to be so tangy. I want the fresh tomato and cucumber to really come out. We're going to put in about a tablespoon of olive oil. So kind of equal parts olive oil and vinegar. And then I have dill. If you have fresh dill, that would be great. You probably want to use around a teaspoon of fresh dill. I'm going to use about a half a teaspoon of dried dill because you don't need quite as much with dried. So we're just giving a nice little shake over. And then we're going to use a little bit of garlic salt. I'm going to just shake that on. About, I want to say, like a teaspoon of garlic salt. Okay, let's grab this guy out because he is nice and ready. Beautiful. You can see they cook up so quickly in there because it's a nice hot oven and you'll get this nice crispy crust on it. Beautiful. Okay, let's before we mix this up, let's get our next one going because I always say, you know, it's kind of like a machine. You can do more in there, but I like to just do one at a time because if I put them too close to the flame on one side, what happens is that edge will get really, really dark and the other one won't get as nice. Let's grab off a chunk of our dough here. And this is sourdough pizza crust that I made using my starter. It was about 2 cups of starter, so it's a good if you need to use a lot of starter. And then it also has 5 cups of flour, about a tablespoon of olive oil, 2 teaspoons of honey, about a tablespoon of salt, and 1.5 cups of warm water. And then you mix that up and you give it a quick knead. And then you just let it sit and rise. There we go. So we've got a good thing. With this one, I'm going to do some sun-dried tomatoes on here. So this is going to give just a lovely kind of flavor. I'm going to pour a little bit of my sun-dried tomato oil on there as well. That these will just kind of be popping. So we're going to put these out and make it a little bit bougie. Let me get some of that oil out. We're just going to kind of spread it around. That's going to add, that oil is going to give a lot of the flavor too. There we go.
I have a question. Where do you find the food covers?
These, they're actually, we're at my parents' house cooking at their outside, but I believe they're Uliska, which is a bougie brand. But I don't know if they actually make them anymore, because I was asking my mom about it. I'm like, oh, these are really great. We need more of them. And she's like, I tried to find them, but they're gone. But yes, I believe they're like, it's a French brand. And they have like a lot of cool stuff. Okay, we're going to sprinkle our mozzarella cheese over the top of these sun-dried tomatoes. There we go.
Do the kids eat all these different foods?
They actually do. They're gotten a pretty now. They will love the cheese bread as their favorite. My son will do the mushroom one. He likes that a lot. I have a feeling Evie will eat the ones with the sun-dried tomatoes because she loves kind of tomatoes. But yeah, they always will try all of them. They'll definitely eat the chicken and the potatoes on here. So they actually do kind of eat a really good variety. We've got that in there. Again, I like to put it in the middle of it, and that way it kind of cooks up fairly evenly. I'm going to turn it down just a smidge now that it's nice and hot. And up here, let's get our cucumber salad stirred up, and then we're going to transfer some of our veggies off, and we're going to cook up our broccoli for this. Okay, let's give this a quick stir. So again, we have our fresh cucumber in here, our tomatoes, dill, garlic, salt, about a tablespoon of white vinegar, and a tablespoon of olive oil. And it's just going to be a really bright, fresh salad that's going to be absolutely delicious. Okay, I'm going to grab this plate. We're going to take off some of our veggies, and then we're going to put our broccoli on and let that cook up. And that way we can have these veggies over here so we can decorate some of our cheese breads on there. And then I'm going to try to have them as separate as possible. There we go. And then we're going to use the rest of kind of our things. And we're going to do just like a sautéed broccoli on here with some garlic salt, which will be delicious. And I'm going to grab these onions. Trying to get these. And then we're going to stir our potatoes here. Grab the mushrooms off as best I can. I'm going to mix some of them in with our potatoes. So we've got our good sauteed veggies. I'm going to move all of these kind of veggies over, those last little scraps, so they'll kind of add a little veggie flavor to our potatoes. And then we're going to check. You guys can it's about halfway done now, cooking in there. As you can see, that's starting to bubble up. We've got a little bit of a blonde crust on it. And I'm going to turn it up a little bit too. I just like to keep an eye on the temperature. This has it right here. It goes up to 500 degrees, so it can really cook it pretty fast. There we go. Okay. Let's put our butter on here because we're going to throw on our broccoli. Got our nice little thing here. I've got my broccoli over here. We'll do a switcheroo. And I've just got some big heads of broccoli that we're going to just toss on here. Probably break them apart as we throw them in the butter so that they'll cook up nicely. We want them to get a nice kind of a vibrant green on them, but they're going to just add a lot of great flavor, especially when you do them on here. If you could also drizzle them with a little bit of Japanese barbecue sauce, and they'd give you that kind of teriyaki broccoli that's so delicious. Okay. Grab mine. I'm just going to stir it around so they all can kind of touch that butter. There we go. Putting on it. And again, I'm having these kind of cook over just like a medium heat. And this one I think I've got more of a low because the potatoes, you want to go low and slow. Let's check on this guy. He's looking just about done. I'm going to give him a quick rotation there because again, like I say, one side likes to cook just a smidge longer. So we'll just rotate him. put it on like 30 seconds, but you can see it gets very hot in here. I will say, if you're like our little temperature, these gloves, they allow you could actually just reach in there and grab it out if you're not super. If you're like our little temperature, these gloves, they allow you could actually just reach in there and grab it out if you're not super good with one of these. There we go. So we've got our, you can see that oil, that sun-dried tomato oil is really popping up through it, and it's got this nice crispy crust. Sourdough pizza crust is the best.
Have you ever tried sesame oil on broccoli?
I have. When I do my veggie lo mein, and when I do some of my teriyaki stuff, I do use sesame oil for it. But I always have to cut it with a little bit of olive oil because it's a nice strong flavor. But sesame oil is delicious. It gives you that Asian kind of flair to it. Okay. Let's get our next kind of our cheesy bread out here. We're going. So I'm going to put a good amount of flour here. Looks like we have enough to make about one more after this one. So we're going to stretch this guy out again. You don't need, with sourdough crust, you don't really, the pizza dough is such a stretchy dough. It's a little bit different than a yeast dough in that it doesn't tear as easily. And so I feel like it makes just a really great pizza crust. So I say that and I pull a little too hard. There we go. And then I'm just going to turn it, make sure I've got a good amount of flour on it because, again, you want to have that good little, like, pull with it. We're going to do another garlic cheese bread, and then our last one we're going to do kind of a bougie one with I've got some Swiss and Gruyere, but this is everyone's favorite. It's so simple. It's just our garlic salt. Just a nice layer. And we're going to use our mozzarella cheese. We'll sprinkle it on. You could also use Parmesan if you want to use 2 different types of cheeses. That works well. And then we'll sprinkle a little bit of garlic salt on the top of it. Here. So we've got that. And a little bit of garlic salt on the top to give that double layer of like that garlic flavor. Okay, we're going to pop this in our pizza oven. Have it go right in here, and again, it's just the simple movement of just sliding it back and forth. And with a really well floured surface that allows it to slide off. If you don't flour it well enough, and if your pizza or your cheese bread is too heavy, it's not going to slide. We're going to come over here. We're going to season up our broccoli and our potatoes here. And then we're going to check on our chicken, see how it's cooking. I'm going to give these a nice and then I'm going to try to bring them all kind of together so that we can season it up with our spices. I'm going to just put them all here in the middle. Let's get our broccoli turning around. Beautiful. You can see it's starting to get more of a brighter color. That's, versus that pale green. We're starting to get some of the darker green on here. There we go. I'm going to put it over on both sides. That way you can kind of toast it up. This is just a really delicious way to do broccoli that's out of it, your basic, way. Put a little bit of garlic salt over our potatoes. Sprinkle, I'm going to do a little over our broccoli. And then I'm going to add some onion powder to our potatoes as well. And I'm just going to let that kind of simmer up. We'll stir them and mix them in just a second, but I want it to steam up and cook on its own. Okay, let's check out our chicken here. Looks like it is cooking perfectly. We are almost done. I'm going to give everyone a nice little rotate again. You can see just that low and slow is giving you this nice, crispy, but juicy. It's, if you cook it too high, your juices are going to come out really fast and you're going to burn your skin. These will be ready in just a few minutes, which is kind of perfect timing because we're almost ready with everything else. Okay, let's check on our pizza over here, see how it's doing. Ooh, almost lost that. About there, we've got our cheese is starting to melt up and it's getting there. Looking good. Okay, I'm gonna turn it up just a smidge there. Perfect. Now for our next one that we're going to do, I'm gonna do more of a bougie one. So I'm gonna use my my Gruyere and Swiss, and I'm gonna use pesto and a little bit of my sun-dried tomatoes on here. There we go. I'm just gonna grab all of my little dough out here. We can start kind of making it because I'll just pull that one out with my tongs when it's ready. And put this over our our pizzas and our cheese breads. So again, make sure you have this nice floury layer on there so that it can slide. I will say the first time I made pizzas in a pizza oven like this, it was a disaster. They all turned into calzones until I finally managed realized because I made them huge and then I couldn't transfer them, which is the hard part. But I finally mastered where, they make about good personal pan-sized pizzas. I haven't mastered the giant one yet. I feel like I don't have Italian blood in me, so therefore it's not going to happen. Okay, we're going to stretch this guy out. And then I'm going to make sure he has a good slide. I'm always going to do that. The one time I forget to check the good slide, then he's not going to come off. We're going to use our pesto. And also, we're going to put sun-dried tomatoes, but sun-dried tomato pesto is also delicious. And we'll add our sun-dried tomatoes, and we're going to add some of our sautéed veggies on here. But I feel like with this, you can do so many different things on here. Let's add our cheese first, and then we're going to do our sun-dried tomatoes. But I'm going to take a peek, see how ours is looking over there. So this is going to be Swiss and Gruyere cheese. So I'm going to use a slightly different cheese on here. I'm just going to use up the rest of this bag. And take a peek. Not quite yet. It can go fast, so I don't want to forget about it and go in there. Where did I put my sun-dried tomatoes? There they are. I have a few left in this jar, so we're going to add these on here as well. And then I'm going to add in some of our sautéed. We've got some peppers here. So I feel like that tomatoes and those peppers will taste delicious. And then I've got some onions. There we go. And this I think will be a really delicious one. Okay. Let's see if we're ready to take this guy off. He's nice and ready. So I'm just going to use and actually pull him out onto here. So you can see how they transfer actually pretty nice because the crust cooks up wonderfully. So we'll place them on here with our other one. Looking good, looking good. Okay, let's get our last one in the oven cooking up, and then we can start transferring the rest of our food over because we're almost ready. So we've got our pesto, Gruyere, Swiss, sun-dried tomato, onions, and red pepper cheesy bread going in. So again, we got our bougie cheesy bread in here. Let's get our broccoli. We're going to toss up our potatoes real quick. Looking good. Remember, I sprinkled the onion powder and the garlic salt on it, but I didn't mix it in because I like it to steam up and kind of hydrate first and then mix it in. It kind of prevents it from burning on the cooktop. There we go. And you can see all of these are starting to get this nice dark, that bright green coming through. That's when you know that they're going to be tender If they're still really like that whitish pale, not like the yellow pale like this, but more white and opaque, that means they're going to be a little bit firm. Okay, let's check out our chicken here. I think I'm going to grab my pan because I'm pretty sure we are ready to take this off. Look at them. They are looking delicious. I'm going to turn all of my burners off. Nice thing is about this, you know it's off when you push the light off. Okay. We're going to put our chicken on here. Remember, we marinated these with Worcestershire sauce, olive oil, garlic, salt, onion powder, and then with a myriad of fresh herbs. We've got rosemary, oregano, thyme, basil, parsley. So they are just going to be like full of that kind of fresh herb flavor and green onions. Look at those. They are delicious. That perfect kind of crispy skin on them, but still juicy and tender inside. Okay. Now we're going to take off our broccoli and our potatoes now. So I'm going to grab our plates over here because we are on our like final bit, because then our pizza should be just about ready. I'm actually going to take a peek first. We'll do a quick rotation of it here. So you see how one side always likes to get a little bit warmer. So I just kind of rotate it up. That way you can get that even cook on it. I'm just going to leave the window off because it is almost ready. I'm going to turn these guys off. We got them on high. There we go. And now let's get our potatoes off. These were our little kind of our baby gold potatoes that we chopped up and then we seasoned with garlic salt and onion powder, and we sautéed them in butter. So they're just going to be a really like rich kind of decadent fried potato, just like you get at those like old school diners. There we go. And then we're going to do our broccoli. Get these as much. Okay. So look at those, just delicious potatoes. And then we're going to get our broccoli up, which will be a nice kind of tender. We've got our garlic salt on it. Grabbing them off. It'll just be like a really nice savory broccoli. I feel like it beats, broccoli is always like steamed, I feel like, and it has so much potential to be cooked in so many other ways, especially ways that you're not thinking of. We're going to put this over here, and then we're going to grab our cheesy bread off because our last one is ready as well. Look at our beautiful cheesy bread that we have coming off. I got our sun-dried tomatoes are like popping here. They've got this nice roast on them. I'm gonna put our last one there. See if we can kind of even these out. There we go. And now I think we're about ready to do our rundown of all of our delicious foods that we cooked today. So let me move this over and I'm going to show you. We've got quite the collection here that we cooked up in these few minutes. So we've got our broccoli over here that we sauteed on our cooktop with butter and garlic salt. Our potatoes that are baby gold potatoes that we sauteed in butter, onion powder, and garlic salt. Our fresh tomato, cucumber, and red onion salad with dill in there and a vinaigrette. These are our sauteed veggies that we'll have as a veggie side, but we also use them for our cheesy bread. Our star of the show, of course, are our drumsticks that we marinated in Worcestershire sauce, oil, and then fresh herbs from my garden, oregano, basil, parsley, thyme, rosemary, and green onions for really fresh flavor. And then we have our cheesy breads here. We've got our plain. This is our pesto, mushroom, and our onions. Our sun-dried tomato with mozzarella. Again, another cheesy bread. And then this is our bougie one at the end with our Swiss and Gruyere cheese. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making for our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, all you have to do is go to that link, search for what we cooked for. So this is kind of our grill dinner, and you can cook along with us again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking utensils. I've got my bowls, my cutting boards, my knives, all the different gadgets I use in the kitchen for you guys to look at if you're interested. But again, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe.